Hi and welcome back everyone. This is Kari, and today I'm going to be starting a new series on my channel. This is going to be a weekly series, and it's going to be focusing on the older stamp sets, dies, and stencils that we all love, that we bought and is in our stash and hasn't been getting enough love with them lately. I am like you. I love the latest and greatest products, but we also forget about those older stamps and dies and stencils that we initially bought in the beginning in the first place. So I wanted to create a series focusing on those products that are already in our stashes and kind of make them new again. So what I'm doing today is focusing on some products from my favorite things. Now this series is not going to be focusing on just one particular company in the, usually, but in this case it just so happened that a lot of the products were from my favorite things. So I'm starting off with a piece of pattern paper from the Watercolor Wishes sets, or 6x6 by Lawn Fawn, and I am stenciling on some Distress Oxide ink and peeled paint using the Hills, and I believe it's called Hills and Drifts, I believe, stencil from my favorite things. And I've literally just sponged on a hillside. It's super simple and it creates a lot of depth and dimension already on the card. So for the stamp set I'm using today it's Modern Trees from my favorite things. This is obviously older. All of these stamp sets that I'm going to be using, both the images and the sentiments, are going to be older stamp sets. And I'm not showing the stamp sets straight on camera because we are trying to eliminate the counterfeiters from these other companies from stealing images. So if you see me kind of doing that, that's why I'm doing it. I will talk about that maybe at a later date, or maybe some of you already know about it, but that's not what this video is about today. I am going to create one of my trees using one of the tree branches from that stamp set. And I am stamping all in Distress Oxide inks today. And because it gives great coverage and it's just something, a little bit different for me to use. And I knew that these inks had great coverage and opacity to them. So I am going ahead and getting my other stamp set, or the other image of this tree, ready to go. And I wanted to create a card for those in this week. The week that you're watching this video, if you're in the United States, all of us are going to be celebrating Thanksgiving, obviously coming up on Thursday. So I wanted to create a card focusing on just making something super simple, super quick for someone that if you were to go visit their home or whatever during Thanksgiving, this is going to be one of those cards that you could create super simple and super fast to give to them, just for being, so great to invite you to their home, that kind of thing, for their hospitality. So what I'm doing is kind of inking up with two different ink colors here. This is going to be my little fall tree here. And I love just the overall color scheme of this card, even though it is completely super simple. It is, it does pack a little bit of a punch with the stenciling and just the overall, minimalistic supplies that you need, because you just, the scene that we're creating is, uses very little supplies. So that's great. So I'm going to go ahead and continue up to stamp these leaves. And now I'm going to take the Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide ink, use that same stencil that I did before, and I'm just going to position this in a way to where it's going to create another hillside and add a little bit more dimension, because this card is almost one layer. There's not any dimension as far as die cuts or anything on the front of this card. It's literally this pattern paper with the stenciling and stamping on top. And so this is going to be one that is super simple to mail as well. So I'm using a different ink color because obviously I want, since there is no foam tape or anything popping up the two images and separating them, I wanted to create that separation with the two different ink colors. So I'm really focusing on getting those edges really a little bit darker at the top than I am, at the bottom. So you can kind of see there that dimension that it creates. So I have completed my little scene here with the hillsides and the trees. I thought about adding another tree, but it just wasn't working the way I wanted it to. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a couple of the leaves from that Modern Tree stamp set and stamp down a couple of the falling leaves onto my little hillside here. And I'm going to be using the two ink colors that I used for the leaves on the actual tree itself. So all of the supplies that I am using in today's card and all of my cards, I always list the supply list down below in the description bar area. So if you're ever wondering what I'm using, be sure to expand your description bar area, and it will let you know all of the supplies that I did use. So now I'm going to go ahead and finish off stamping down these trees, and then I'm going to stamp down my sentiment. This sentiment says I am. What does it say? I'm sorry. Totally. Yes, I am totally grateful. I kind of spaced out there. I'm sorry, guys. I totally spaced. Okay, so back on track. I'm inking it up again with the same ink color that I used for the tree. Again, it says I am totally grateful, and I am grateful that you guys are watching this video. So I am using a card base. This is from MFT. I believe this is the Wild Cherry color. This is from just one of the card kits that I had in my stash, and I thought it totally went with the color scheme that I was going for. So all I'm doing now is adding this whole scene of the pattern paper that I created onto my card base. And then I'm going to add just a little bit more of a sentiment on the inside. And I found a sentiment also from My Favorite Things, and I'm not going to use this entire sentiment. I just wanted the For You part of the sentiment. So I'm going to strategically, there's the word, ink this up with more of the Walnut Stain Distress Oxide ink on the inside. And now I'm just going to add a little bit of sparkle to this card. Since it is super, super simple, this adds a little bit of sparkle and shine to the design. And that completes our card for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this card and looking at another way to use this stamp set from My Favorite Things. Like I said, all of the supplies are listed and linked below the video. I will have another video just like this one next week, so be on the lookout for it. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for new videos upcoming, and I will see you all in the next video very, very soon.